Oh, now we're recording. Yay!
Oh, I stopped talking there.
Okay.
Damn it.
All the gold happens before the podcast actually starts.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll leave it in for the last bit at the end.
Yeah.
For days.
All aboard the hype train!
Choo-choo, motherfucker!
Welcome back to episode 3 of the Hype Train podcast with me, your host, Magnazan. Unfortunately, on today's episode, we weren't able to secure RC Frico and BKFPV. We just don't have the funds for their appearances at the moment. However, we do have 2 awesome guests back from previous episodes. We have firstly SteveFPV, otherwise known as Stefan Knapp, and we also have beardy face guy, it looks like a homeless guy pretty much most of the time, Jackomeister. So welcome guys, thanks for coming back on the show.
Good evening.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
I could definitely afford you guys, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, just as long as you keep buying me beers, it'll happen.
Is he buying you beers?
Am I? It's the first I've heard of it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. I might need to get some sponsorship. Maybe I should head up Gary to send some beers this way. I don't know whether Quad Junkie actually sell them. Probably not. Might be illegal. I don't know. Anyway, this episode we want to talk about a couple of things. We want to talk about some ESCs and technologies around the ESCs, and I also want to talk about VTXs. But firstly, let's just have a go around the table and just see what everyone's been doing. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I spent the week fixing video issues on one of my quads.
Oh yeah, what kind of video issues?
Just random, almost like it's on the wrong channel. Still haven't worked it out, but it's taken the whole week.
What have you been doing, mate?
I don't know.
What have you been doing?
I don't know. I've tried everything.
So you've been flying along, and what's happening?
It's just like almost like it's changing channel while I'm flying.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you losing video completely?
Not completely. I can still kind of make out the ground, but I have to land pretty urgently.
You got a spectrum analyzer?
I don't know if it's that. I don't know. It's like it's losing sync to the video or something like that.
Very
Completely
odd.
random.
Weird.
That's very odd.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's been an eventful week for you then. And you haven't solved it yet?
Nope.
Oh, so how are you going to get on for the weekend's race?
I don't know. That's why
That sounds like excuses, preloading excuses there.
I need to
Right.
I need to spend more money. That's the problem.
Oh, that's the way to solve every problem in this hobby, just throw money at it. Jacko, you want to go next or me?
Yeah, yep. What have I been doing this week? I built a box. It's covered
Awesome.
in stickers. Put lots of stickers on my box.
Makes it a faster box, that's for sure.
Well, it makes it have more stickers on it. I'll give it that. For putting wings in to go to Hawaii. It's a bit really. Been playing with Unify HVs, but we'll get to that later. Yeah. Tuning wings, mate.
Tuning wings. What do you have to tune for wings? Doesn't it just fly itself?
Pretty much. You got to get the RTH right and fly the waypoints and such. Yeah.
Isn't it all autopilot?
Yeah.
I have a question. Are you going to be flying like the races with any sort of stabilization on the wings?
In gyro mode. So it's
In
the same as
gyro
it
mode.
is for a mini quad.
Okay, and is that actually any better compared to switching it off?
Yeah, because when you yank and bank hard, the turn rate is always the same.
Yeah.
As opposed to like if you don't have it and you yank and bank hard,
And then you
the
stall
rate you
it.
turn changes.
Okay.
So you can bash it and it will do exactly the same radius.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
you can stay full throttle and still turn.
Full titties. I don't even
Are
have a
you going to
throttle.
be? Are you going to be running all of those? Your OSD. Are you going to have like everything on the OSD, or are you going to cut back your OSD?
I've cut it back already a bit because it was getting a bit slow. My horizon was about fucking 3 seconds behind the plane. But
Oh, okay. So that's affected directly. So the system you're running in the wings is the vector, right?
yeah.
Which can also be used in a quad if you so wished.
Your voice has turned to crap, bro.
Is it?
Yeah, is it right for you, Steve, or was it just me?
No, it's me as well. It happened at the start as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my maybe it's my
Can't
internet
really
connection.
understand you.
You turn into like a robot noise dropping pack.
All right, is that any better? That must be better now, surely.
Beautiful, mate.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right. So, have you got anything else, or is that you this week?
That's me this week.
All right. So, what I've been doing this week is waiting for my 3D printer, which was supposed to arrive today, however, didn't. So, I am very disappointed. I've got a roll of filament that is ready to be melted and made into awesome 3D products, and all my friends are waiting to be my friends.
You're going to 3D print yourself some friends.
Yeah. Going to 3D print some friends. Everybody wants to be your friend when you get a 3D printer. Did you not know that?
What
It's
3D printer did you get, Ian?
I got the Wanhao i3 Duplicator Plus,
Where's it coming from?
China.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's good. I did, as usual, I did a ton of reviews to find out what was good and what isn't. It seems to be kind of mid-levelish. But yeah, I'll get into it and I'll see how we go. I wanted to get some TPU through it and print some TPU mounts and things. Like the DeX mounts and whatnot, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it'd be quite interesting. And I also put together a fifth machine, another fix, of course, with some new motors. So I grabbed some test motors, some RCX 2206 2400 kV, the new RS version, along with the 4-in-1 ESCs, which we'll talk about now, I guess. So ESCs.
That was a nice segue, mate.
It was good, eh? I like that. Professional.
Yeah, that was
all professionals
nice.
here.
Smooth.
Yeah. So ESCs. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's reminisce for a second. What were your first ESCs, Steve?
Ooh. 18 amp Turnigy plush ESCs.
18 amps.
Yep. For the
Jacko.
tricopter.
On a mini quad.
Yeah.
Or you mean back in the days when the planes were planes?
No, we're not talking about planes, bro. This is not a plane podcast.
HK Blues, mate.
HK Blues, 12
Yeah, they
amps.
were probably actually T-motor ones. With a
I had those. I had the T-motors, or the T-motor equivalent. But my first ones were the Afro 12 amps.
Those were good.
That's a quality ESC right there, mate.
Yeah.
They were awesome. And when Damped Light came out, it was like, I'm all over it. So from there, we should probably explain for the people that have gotten into the hobby recently. Back in the day, we used to run Simon K flashed ESCs. There was no Beal Heli back then. Simon K was it. We used to run KK boards, and was Baseflight even out then? Must have been out.
Yeah,
I think
you
Get
get
out
this.
32s, 53Es and such.
Yeah. So the best we got was 12 amp ESCs, and for the most part, that was all that we needed for the motors as well, because the motors were equally rubbish. Then we started to see the kind of the 12 amp, the 18 amp ESCs coming out as we got more powerful motors, and that's when Beal Heli came out and was able to be flashed onto various, I think it was either Scilab or Atmel. I can't remember which one it was at the time, but one of the two. And we started to see things like damped light be introduced, which meant that the motors would actively brake the props when you throttle down when you're going along, which meant that the response of the props and the machine was greatly improved. What Beal Heli mainly was for, though, was it was for flashing onto the ESCs, and then we could start tuning settings like timing and demag, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff as well, which meant that copter performance increased dramatically. Now, your HK Blues, Jacko, what was on those when you first had them?
Oh, it would have just been default firmware. It wouldn't even had Simon K.
Oh, really? So just stock firmware?
Stock years. Mate, I'm still running, but what do you mean your old HK Blues? I'm still running them. Same ones.
Still
Haven't
legit.
hit this on them once, mate.
How many amps are you pulling through them, Chris?
They're on my bus on 4-cell
Mate,
with those 2600s.
The thing is, he's still running them because he can't fly more than 10 minutes without crashing into a rock. So really, he's not pulling any amps.
You're getting 10 minutes out of a mini quad, mate. That's good effort.
No, you are not getting 10 seconds out of a mini quad because there's a rock in the way and you're crashing into it. So you could be running 1 amp and you'd still be fine.
I've seen Chris fly. When that bus thing goes, it goes for 10 minutes, full throttle. It doesn't fly gently for 10 minutes.
No, that's true. That is true. But you're not running HK Blues on that, are you?
Yeah, it's got HK Blues on it, mate.
On your bus?
Full titties, HK Blues.
For days.
Feels like
That's awesome.
1,000 amps. It's good as gold, mate.
Oh, that's funny. So, what were your guys? Steve, obviously, you haven't. You started on BL Heli, well, you started on BL Heli, didn't you? Pretty much from the get go.
No, I would have started on Simon K. The first ESCs I had were the Afros on a mini quad, and then I went to the I can't even remember the name. Also 12 amp ESCs. What were they called?
The Rotor Geeks ones.
Yeah, the Rotor Geeks ones. They were amazing.
They were until we realised what like Damned actually was doing. Because I had the Rotor Geeks, and they were awesome.
Yeah.
Until they failed.
Yeah.
And until I realised that the Afros actually did active braking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, nobody needs active braking. What are you talking about? Mine's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I tried active braking. I was like, oh my god, I need to change my
Probably
ESC.
the most annoying thing back in the day was all the different bootloaders on the ESCs. And then some of the ESCs didn't have bootloaders. Oh my god, I've got every single adapter under the sun.
Yeah, people now are so lucky with their ESCs.
Yeah.
I remember I had like 3 or 4 dongles
Yeah.
for various different types. So there was 1 wire, there was 3 wire, there was tapping. I've even seen ones that go directly on the chip.
I did the direct
ESC.
chip thing.
Oh,
With a little ASP flasher.
Yeah, the little flasher tool. Except I couldn't afford the flasher tool, so I just kind of sat there with the micro wire and the micro tip on the soldering iron and soldered like 8 wires to random points on my
That's dedication right there.
ESC. Used what was it, the Turnigy ISP header? Yeah.
Hardcore.
that is pretty hardcore. So from BL Heli, we started to see KISS ESCs. The KISS 18, I think there was KISS 12s, and then KISS 18s back in the day. And I remember seeing the God videos where he was tuning with his KISS ESCs, and I was like, oh, I need to get some of those because it's so smooth. It just looked like he was running a gimbal. The major benefit of the KISS ESCs when they came out was, other than sitting on fire randomly, so you could always keep warm, they had hardware PWM, which meant that the throttle response was uber smooth compared to what we were normally used to.
Can I just butt in there for a second? The other reason the KISS 18s were so good was that they also had dedicated MOSFET drivers.
Yeah.
So it was those two things that no other ESC had that made them so amazing.
Yeah, I remember putting them on. I was like, oh, I need to switch everything to these.
Yeah.
However, with there was lots of fires. Although, to be fair, I didn't have that many fires, and the only fire I had about 3, I think. 1 was a bad solder on my part. 2 was, I think I damaged one. And the 3rd one, I'd let somebody fly my machine and they set it on fire. But I know, Steve, you had a ton of issues with your 18 amps.
I went through over 10 of them.
Oh,
I should have been sponsored by Flyduino.
I know, right? I mean, but the thing was, there was no real rhyme or reason why yours were going up and mine weren't.
No, there was a reason. I reckon they were overheating.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Too many thrusts.
Yeah, just they needed heat sinks on them. As soon as I started putting them in the airflow and heat sinks on them, no more fires.
Okay. And they had no. The other problem is that they had no thermal
Yeah,
shutdown,
yeah.
thermal protection at all, which a lot of the earlier ESCs still had.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, so KISS 18 amps were the bee's knees. We've now seen BioHeli S come out, which are also hardware PWM. So that means that when the PWM signal is generated, it's via hardware and it's synchronized with the microcontroller clock, so that it is ultra smooth. The ESC is driving the motors. There's almost no sand, and the change in motor speed is almost instant. You have, Steve, again, obviously, Jacko, this is largely irrelevant to you. You've switched to BioHeli S for all your machines now?
Yeah, I've switched completely to BioHeli S. It's basically just, BioHeli S is just catching up to the KISS 24s and the KISS 18s. Yeah, it's as good now. It's no better than KISS. So yeah, and they're cheap.
Less fire?
Yeah, definitely.
Way less fire. And how do you find their stick feel? Because that's the major reason to go into them. I've seen a lot of conflicting reports. Some people saying that yes, it is different. No, it isn't different. I mean, I myself can feel the difference, but can you from BioHeli to BioHeli S?
Yeah, there's always going to be some difference, but it's so close that you just get used to it.
And the other benefit as well is that you don't have to mess around with flashing multi-shot firmware on there.
Yeah.
It just comes out of the box with multi-shot on, which is quite nice.
That's what I was going to ask. So BioHeli S and multi-shot is the same thing. Is that what you're saying?
No, they just support all of the protocols. So it detects the protocols that you've set in the flight controller and runs accordingly. So if you set one shot, it'll run on one shot. If you've set one shot 42, it'll run on that. And if you've set multi-shot, it'll run on that. So for those that don't know what one shot 42 and one multi-shot are, where have you been? You should be running multi-shot. But essentially it is the signal length, signal width, however you want to say it. And it's basically just the delay in which the ESC or the FC sends the signal to the ESC. And multi-shot is the quickest of the bunch. And in theory, it allows for quicker ESC updates and therefore quicker motor updates. But there's masses of debate on whether it's
Actually better.
actually doing anything or not. So, all right,
Yeah.
okay. So as far as hype goes, the BioHeli S hype is real. We all agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, don't buy anything else.
Everybody should be switching. Don't buy anything else. That's the Steve recommendation.
I don't think my HK Blues support it. Sorry, mate. Wouldn't know.
Stink.
They probably do.
One other thing we should probably talk about as well, just very briefly. Historically, we've always favoured separate ESCs from machines, so that if one ever fails, you can just replace it. However, we're now seeing 4-in-1 boards with all ESCs on the same board. What are your guys' opinions on that? With it, Steve?
If the reliability gets better, I think it's a great idea. It's just how it should be, really.
But they're so cheap.
Yeah, they are.
Well,
What is it, $30 or something like that?
It's like, yeah, I think it's $35 or $40 for a 20 amp 4-in-1 board, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. BioHeli S as well.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing as well, we should mention that if you're going to get BioHeli S, make sure that you get the BB2 chipset. That's very important. The previous BB1 chipset ESCs weren't as good, and they couldn't support some of the high kV boners very well.
I'd probably go, if I was going to go for the 4-in-1 ESC again, I'd probably go for the one with the bigger MOSFETs. I don't know if you've noticed, there's kind of the smaller ESCs which use the really little package MOSFETs, and the ones that have the bigger MOSFETs. I haven't blown up any ESCs with the bigger MOSFETs.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
I think it's just more heat dissipation, and generally the higher rated.
Yeah. Because you've had issues with the Acons, haven't you? Which another BioHeli-S ESC.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's just hasn't felt right on the sticks. I don't know if they're just a cheap ESC or if I've got one bad one. Yeah.
Okay. I think you may have just had a bad bunch, maybe, possibly. But
I think they're actually BB1, that's why.
Oh, okay. That might be why. Yeah, because all of mine are BB2s, and I haven't had any issues on mine. I know Ash as well had a few issues with BB1s. Interesting. Okay, yep. So steer clear of the BB1s.
It definitely wasn't. Yeah, and also some of the early Acons didn't have enough capacitors on them, so they would desync. Just little things like that still.
Yeah. I think that for the most part, though, the BioHeli-S ESCs
still the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think that they're pretty much there now. A lot of the newer ones that get released are good enough.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's enough about ESCs. Pretty much buy BioHeli-S and be done with it. Do we want to talk about 32-bit?
Till next week.
Quickly, maybe? Next week? Okay, we'll leave it till next week. All right, so let's talk about VTXs. So for Worlds, for Hawaii, the Drone Worlds, Drone National, whatever they want to call it, there was a list of VTXs put out that we should be buying. Mainly due to previous testing done by the Drone Nationals, and they said basically the Unify, the Tramp, which you can't buy, and then the FXT or the Lumineer versions of the FXT range that were switchable. I want to talk about the Unify first, and mainly because those are the ones that I bought, and I think you bought them as well, Jacko.
We bought all of them.
Yeah, in New Zealand, right?
All of them.
So yeah, the entire Worlds team pretty much just bought out every single Unify in New Zealand. What has been your experience? Well, let's just talk about the features first. So it's a VTX with a pigtail on it for the most part. It's switchable power from 25 milliwatt through to 800. And it goes from 25, 200, 400, 800.
500.
Is it 500 or 400? I thought it was 400.
500.
Okay. And it's got a 5-volt out for pretty much powering nothing, because that's useless, other than maybe a flight controller. And then it's also, if you've got the power stack thing that TBS do, you can switch your channels and power and whatnot from the OSD. However, the major thing for me, or the major thing for Worlds at least, was pit mode, and also the clean power on. So when you power it on, it doesn't spam across every single channel. It only powers on very low power on the channel that it's on. And I've had really good experiences with using it recently, but I'll let Jacko go first, because you're using it in a plane, right?
In a plane.
In a plane.
In a real plane, mate.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you've been using it in your plane.
Yeah.
And you've been using it on 800 milliwatt mode, right?
Yeah, I had it in 800 to test it, to see what it do, mate. Throw it in the deep end, see what happens. And it's not happy, to be honest. It's not happy. I put them on the spectrum analyzer, looked at them all, and checked how much power they're spitting out in the works. And when you first crank them up when they're nice and cold at 800 milliwatt, they spit out about 900 milliwatt. And then that quickly goes down to about 550 milliwatts. And if you let them heat soak for about 5 minutes or so, they were shutting off on me. So for a microsecond, it'll like turn off and go to pit mode, and then it'll crank back up again. And so your video would get like a really quick dropout and come back. which is pretty bizarre. They're getting so hot that they're actually pulling the heat shrink away from like it's actually broken its own heat shrink because it's getting so hot.
Oh, jeez.
So
Well,
I don't recommend 800 milliwatt mode, but they seem pretty good otherwise.
yeah, I saw you post on Facebook, and Trappy replied back to you about that issue, right? And he said that they test them
I've
with
had
antennas.
this stuff before, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, what antenna were you running on it? Just out of interest.
It's got an SMA adapter because it's got the I brought the SMA pigtail for it, and it's got one of those how do you call them? The new TVS Triumph antennas.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. But apparently, or allegedly, TBS test them with their antennas on, and they're still fine.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But 800 milliwatt with no antenna.
Yeah.
And no thermal shutdown.
I can chime in my bit. Someone I know was trying to develop, the interface where you change the channels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Apparently they released some documentation on it, and all the documentation was wrong as well. But yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had to go back, and they essentially rewrote it for TBS.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
However, those issues aside, because really, if you're running 800 milliwatts, you need to be punched in the face
Why?
for being that guy.
He's testing out
awesome.
on plane. We can give him, give him some slack.
Yeah.
But in 500 milliwatt mode, they seem pretty stable. I've had it sitting there for half an hour just seeing if it would fail on me, and no, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've,
Do you think you're going to need 800 milliwatt?
Yeah, they're talking about flying us. Well, to be honest, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. But they're talking about a big sky course, and they're talking about a mini quad track for us to fly. And I've got no idea.
But even so, do you still think you need 800 milliwatt, given that we're going to be running these quad diversity
600 would be
ground
good,
stations?
but it doesn't have a 600 mode.
Just for some background, how many planes are they planning to run at one time?
No idea.
Okay. Yeah.
1,000?
We wish.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Okay.
I personally, I'd like to see a fewer planes up in the air, 4 up with big separation, and say 600 milliwatts.
Yeah.
Just for safety.
I still don't think you need more than 200.
Back in the
Yeah, but they're talking about making
I
us
mean, you're
fly
not going
along the
behind trees
ridges.
and mountains, are you? Oh, yeah, but even so, that's still line of sight for the most part.
Yeah, but have you not seen the gap in the top of the canyon?
No.
There's a big gap there, which is like a big rocky V, and I'm pretty sure they're going to get us flying through that.
Oh, sick.
That'd be awesome.
That
Yeah.
will be awesome.
Maybe they just need something to spice up the ESPN feed.
Yeah. So
Are you scared about that? Because essentially that's one giant rock.
mate, but it's got a hole in it.
Yeah, but it's a rock, and we know your history.
Multipathing for days.
Yeah, I want 800 milliwatts
Crashing
to
into it for
burn my
days.
way through that rock, mate.
If there's a rock, Jacko's going to find it and crash into it. Either that or cow poo, apparently.
Yeah.
They were your two favourite things.
That was awesome, that.
That was pretty amusing. For those that don't know, Jacko managed to crash into a cow pant.
Landing, mate. It wasn't crashing.
Well,
I landed it.
Allegedly
Beautifully.
landing.
Beautiful. It was like an arrestor hook, but shit.
All right, so the VTX itself, obviously for racing, we're only going to be using 200 milliwatt. I think we can really get down to 25 milliwatt these days for most racetracks, especially with the ground stations that we've been using and the newer modules that I've seen coming out. The 5808 or the SkyZone modules?
Huh?
Yeah, those ones anyway.
Are they like great DBI rating or something? Or DBM?
Well, it's the same as that's in the 632 ground station. So those modules are in the Furious D and the LaForge and all those. So I don't think there's any real reason that we need to run 200 milliwatt or above. I think we can get away with 25, and I know a lot of the UK races are 25 milliwatt. And also the test that was from the Drone National, the regional finals for multi-GP was 16 pilots, 25 milliwatt on bands A and E.
If you jump on the spectrum analyzer with one of these, the Unified Pros or any VTX, and stick it in 25 milliwatt node. It's a
Yeah.
real nice little peak. Like crisp as, doesn't bleed anywhere. But
that's
you
good.
keep cranking the power up, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and taking up more of the section. It's really clear to see how the
Yeah.
low power is the way to do.
So,
Yeah.
Chris, what other VTXs have you actually tested?
Tested crickets,
Okay.
some immersions on there, a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And did was the TBS the cleanest on that 25 milliwatt mode, or
No, it was
Was
all
it-
the same, to be honest.
all the same? Okay.
Yeah.
So no difference.
Yeah.
No difference.
That's interesting. It's not really until you start running the higher power stuff that it's gonna show up the weaknesses in the VTX.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it is.
Mm.
It's a pity you can't take that tiny whoop antenna off, so I could plug the thing in there and check it. But
Oh yeah.
because that'd be interesting to actually compare, see what the tiny whoop high-powered,
Well, I found
high-end transmitter does.
I found the Tiny Whoop to be awesome around the house. I can pretty much not even bother putting an antenna on my goggles and fly around the whole house, and it's signals fine. It's I'm super impressed.
Yeah. I wonder if that has anything to do with that whole exponential kind of diminishing returns things. Going 10 meters is easy, but going the next 10 meters is 3 times as hard, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. But I mean, you've also got to bear in mind that for racing at least, there's no real need for more than 25 milliwatt, I would argue, with a ground station.
Yeah.
For mini quads,
For mini quads.
not real racing.
Yeah.
Not for plane racing, no. So I've seen, because we're in a bunch of Facebook chats, and some of the issues that I see coming out of those around video are, oh no, I'm going behind trees, I'm losing my video, or I'm getting lines in my video. What kind of things do you guys do to ensure that you're getting good video from your machine? Steve first, I guess.
Well, if I'm by myself, I use the FR632 just because it pretty much picks up anything. But I wonder, as we sort of kind of run in races and stuff like that, if it's sometimes not, especially because we're running 200 milliwatts and all of that, to run a less sensitive receiver, because you might pick up a little bit less of the next person's noise.
Did you see the I want to say it's German. He might not be German, might be Swiss or something like that, doing a diversity receiver shootout?
No.
It actually covered that because I had those 632s, which
RC Shim?
yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
And he was comparing the immersion duo, which has a lower sensitivity rating than all the other ones.
Yeah.
And it actually had the best video feed for the
I
whole
saw
way
that,
out.
but I definitely haven't found that in practice.
Yeah.
I was able to fly it like probably 1.5 km away up a mountain with my mini quad, just with 200 milliwatts, and use this 632. And then I had a friend in the car just using the normal Fat Shark goggle receivers, and he was just like, I had no video whatsoever.
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's the goggle receiver, so not a duo.
Not a duo, but still, does it really make a difference?
Yeah.
I was still just using omnidirectionals on everything, and so was he.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the sensitivity of the module itself, and also the antennas as well. I think it's not an either or. You've got to have both. I know from my own testing that if I put I've got a single crosshair, and if I put that on my normal goggles, just the normal Next Wave module, the penetration through trees is vastly better, like vastly.
Yeah.
To the point
I
where
guess
I can get behind a line of trees, whereas I can't with a normal Omni.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's going to be getting that balance right in between, like the crosstalk between channels and the sensitivity of the receivers and the transmitting power.
Yeah.
And the amount of filtering between bands and stuff like that.
I think if there's a bunch of people together in an open field or in a reasonably open field, and you're not going behind masses of trees and concrete and whatnot, and you're all flying at the same time, then I think 25 milliwatt is going to be sufficient.
Yep.
Yeah, and you'll probably get more people in the air as well at the same time, because you can each go on a single channel right next to each other, and it'll be fine.
Have that crosstalk. Anyway,
Yeah,
Chris, I wish you luck at Worlds. Do you have insurance on those New Zealand wings of yours?
I've got return to home.
Yeah, true.
Can return to home, see the mountain?
Yeah, yeah, hope. It's going to be interesting.
With regards to the actual wiring and configuration that you have on your quad, is there anything special that you guys do at all?
I've got a pro tip for you, mate. Got a pro tip?
Yeah, go on.
Head down to PB Tech, grab yourself some cheap USB cables, because they've got nice shielded wire in there.
Oh, yeah.
And you chop those bad boys open, and you run all your camera wires and your VTX wires using those. Nice tidy wiring. Shielded wires, mate. No noise getting induced in them wires.
What's the weight on those, though?
Yeah. How much
They're not that heavy. You get that nice thin USB cable, and it weighs no more than your normal twisted wires, really.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Mate, you're still talking like 0.5 of a gram here.
No, it's going to be more than that.
How big are your
way more than that.
How long is your wiring?
Well, the other problem is as well that the cable runs that I normally run on mine are, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters at most.
Do it, mate.
If I'm adding a very rigid USB cable,
It's one of
you got to get the nice USB cables, not the cheap shit ones.
it's one of those things where it's not a problem until it is, and then you're pulling your hair out trying to get it to
yeah,
work.
yeah. I myself, when I'm wiring these things up, I make sure there's a few things that I do. If the PDB that I'm using has LC, well, I try and get a PDB with a LC filter in it if I can. That's number one. And what the LC filter does is it takes out all the noise out of the system. If I don't have those, then I will, actually I do this anyway, but I will also twist the wires. So once I've soldered my VTX and camera wires, I'll also twist them. That is supposed to collapse the noise. Is that right, Jacko?
It does. Yeah. I'm losing you, bro.
Yeah. It reduces the crosstalk between. It's that comes from the whole Ethernet thing and differential pairs, and it doesn't really reduce the noise so much going into the cables. If you're still running next to high power wires. But
okay.
Yeah, where that comes from is where you have a differential signal, and then the same amount of noise is induced in both cables, and it can remove that noise more easily.
Okay, cool. All right, so twisting wires, good thing to do.
Maybe. I'd still do it. No harm in doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that and keeping them away from power, ESCs or main power line, main power, is key. And typically, I don't get any of the white lines that you normally get. All right, so I think we've pretty much covered everything. And I think we're experiencing some audio issues. Hopefully this is going to work in post, but we'll see. Does anybody have any final words they want to say before we go? Steve?
Mini quads are frustrating. Sometimes you just have to take a step back when you spend the week trying to fix something.
Yeah. It's usually the way.
Yeah.
Harambe did 9/11.
Who did 9/11? Harambe.
Yeah.
Harambe.
All right, thanks guys. Catch us on Stitcher. Make sure you like and subscribe, and also on Facebook and iTunes. Make sure you guys subscribe so that I can track who's listening and
maybe
see how many listeners we've got.
Can
And
buy
hopefully
us
it's not
beer
just
while we do this.
Yeah, if anybody wants to send us some beer, that'd be really good. Just direct message me.
And some internet.
All right. Well, no, I don't think it's the internet. I think it's actually this Zencaster that we're using, because I've checked the audio afterwards. Well, I've checked the previous audio and it was fine, and you guys are chopping it in and out as well. So I think it's the VoIP to do with the Zencaster, but we'll see. Anyway, hopefully this all comes out, and we'll see you next time for the next episode. See ya.